Picture this. You're having one of those weeks. Work is relentless, your inbox is a disaster, and you haven't laughed in 3 days. Then your friend sends you a video. It's a golden retriever puppy stumbling over its own paws, tail going absolutely haywire, staring at a butterfly like it's the most miraculous thing in the universe. Something cracks open in your chest. You start doing the math. Adoption fee, maybe $250. Food, what, $40 a month? You've spent more on a weekend of bad decisions. You tell yourself, I work hard. I deserve something that loves me unconditionally, something warm and alive and happy to see me every single morning. So you do it. You go to the shelter. You meet a dog. Let's call him Duke. Duke looks up at you with those ridiculous melted chocolate eyes, and that's it. You're cooked. You sign the paperwork. The first 2 weeks are pure magic. Duke sleeps on your feet. He greets you at the door like you've returned from war. You have never felt so needed, so loved, so completely chosen by another living creature. Then reality starts sending invoices. The first one arrives in a Chewy box, premium, grain-free, vet-recommended kibble. The bag that lasts 3 weeks costs $75. Then you need a crate because Duke is eating your baseboards. That's $120. A proper harness, $55. A bed with orthopedic foam, $180. Suddenly, your $40 a month animal is burning through $500 in the first 30 days before a single vet visit. Then Duke eats a decorative pine cone from the hallway table. Emergency clinic, 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. The diagnosis? He's fine, but we need to run blood work to confirm. $380 for a pine cone. If you've ever stood in a pet aisle genuinely debating whether to spend $22 on a birthday cake treat for a dog who ate garbage out of a puddle last Thursday, you need to watch this entire video. Because today we're going to talk about why this happens, who's profiting from it, and how to take your wallet back without loving your animal any less. Let's start at the root of all of this, the single most profitable rebranding campaign in the history of consumer marketing. Somewhere between 1995 and 2015, the pet industry made a quiet but seismic linguistic shift. Dogs stopped being pets. They became children. Owners became parents. Companions became fur babies. This was not organic. It was engineered. When you think of yourself as a pet owner, you apply a budget. You think about cost, benefit, you compare prices, you make rational decisions. But the moment you think of yourself as a pet parent, an entirely different psychological framework activates, one borrowed directly from actual parenting, which is famously immune to price sensitivity. Nobody comparison shops their kid's asthma medication. Nobody decides not to take their toddler to the ER because they want to wait and see. The parenting brain does not operate on spreadsheets. It operates on love, fear, and guilt. The pet industry figured this out and built an entire economy on it. They didn't just change the words, they changed the underlying architecture of your decision-making, and it worked spectacularly. The U.S. pet industry surpassed $140 billion in annual spending and keeps growing, not because people are getting more pets, because each pet is being treated and priced like a dependent. Now let's talk about where the money actually goes, because the margins in this industry are genuinely staggering. Walk into any pet boutique and look at the treat wall. You'll find small batch, handcrafted, single-ingredient dehydrated chicken strips. 4 ounces, $19. That's $76 a pound, roughly 4 times the price of a restaurant-quality steak. The chicken didn't change. The process of drying it didn't add $60 of value per pound. What you're paying for is the font on the packaging, the word artisanal, and a photograph of a mountain. The same logic applies to accessories. A standard foam dog bed rebranded as a therapeutic orthopedic sleep system sells for $220. The human version of the same foam, $40 at any home goods store. What manufacturers understand and what most pet owners don't consciously recognize is that emotional purchases are inelastic. When you're buying toilet paper, price matters. When you're buying something for a creature you love, price becomes a proxy for devotion. Spending more feels like caring more. The premium product triggers a signal in your brain that says, I'm a good parent. The $8 generic treat triggers guilt. This is the guilt premium. It's not a real financial category, but it should be. It's the extra money you spend not because the product is better, but because spending less feels like a moral failing. Here's where things get genuinely concerning, and where the most significant financial damage is quietly happening to households across the country. Think about your veterinarian. Maybe you've been going there for years. There's a doctor you trust, a front desk person who knows your dog's name, and a general sense of a small, community-run practice. There's a reasonable chance that practice no longer operates the way you think it does. Over the past decade, private equity firms have been systematically acquiring veterinary clinics at an extraordinary pace. Consolidation in this space has been aggressive and largely invisible to consumers. You walk in, you see the same name on the door, the same carpet in the waiting room. But the pricing strategy, the diagnostic protocols, and the financial incentives have all been restructured by people in an office building who have never met your dog. When private equity optimizes a medical practice, it does so through standardization, standard of care protocols, mandatory diagnostic packages, upsell sequences baked into the appointment flow. Your dog comes in limping. In a traditional independent practice, an experienced vet might examine him, feel around, conclude it's a strained muscle, and tell you to limit his activity for a week. Total cost? A modest exam fee. Under a private equity protocol, the same presentation triggers an automatic sequence: X-ray, blood work, pain assessment questionnaire, joint supplement consultation. Not because those things are medically necessary, because the protocol says so, and the protocol was designed with revenue optimization in mind. You don't push back because you're scared, because you don't want to be the person who skimped on their dog's care, because the vet is the expert and you are not. And so you pay $700 for a strained muscle. Let's be blunt about something the pet industry's marketing never mentions. Animals break down, expensively and unpredictably. A torn ACL in a medium to large dog, $4,000 to $6,000. A urinary obstruction in a cat, $2,500 to $4,000. Bloat, a life-threatening emergency common in large breeds, can run $7,000 or more. These aren't rare catastrophes. These are statistically likely events across a pet's lifetime. Most people who adopt pets have not accounted for this. They've done the monthly math, food, occasional vet visit, maybe a groomer, and concluded it's manageable. The catastrophic scenarios simply don't make it into the mental model. So when the emergency happens, as it eventually does, the money isn't there. The credit card comes out, and now you're paying 24% annual interest on a $4,000 surgical bill, which means that surgery ends up costing $5,500 or $6,000 by the time it's actually paid off. The pet recovered in 3 weeks. The debt lingers for 3 years. This is one of the least discussed forms of financial self-harm in middle-income households. Not because people are irresponsible, because nobody told them to build an emergency fund for a dog. This brings us to the eternal debate. Is pet insurance worth it? The answer is, it depends, and the math is less favorable than the industry suggests. Pet insurance typically runs between $50 and $120 a month depending on the species, breed, age, and coverage level. Over a 12-year relationship with a dog, you're potentially paying between $7,200 and $17,000 in total premiums. If you have one major surgical event covered at $5,000, you have not broken even. You've effectively prepaid for the surgery with interest. The insurance company employs actuaries. Their entire job is to ensure that the aggregate premiums collected exceed the aggregate claims paid out. They're very good at this. When they price a French Bulldog's policy at $120 a month, they know exactly what the breed's respiratory and skeletal claim history looks like. They have priced that policy to profit. This doesn't mean insurance is never the right choice. For some breeds with predictable high-cost conditions, it can provide genuine financial protection. And for people who know they psychologically cannot handle a $5,000 bill, the peace of mind has real value. But the mathematical optimal strategy for most people is self-insuring, opening a dedicated high-yield savings account for pet expenses, contributing the equivalent of an insurance premium every month, and building a reserve over time. If a crisis comes, the money is there. If no crisis comes, the money is still yours. With insurance, the money is gone regardless. Beyond the obvious costs, Pet ownership has quietly become an access point to an entire premium lifestyle ecosystem, and the social pressure to participate is real and relentless. Doggy daycare, $35 a day in most urban markets. 5 days a week for office workers, $700 a month. $8,400 a year. For context, that's a fully funded Roth IRA contribution. You are choosing between your dog's social stimulation and your retirement, and most people never consciously frame it that way. Grooming, $75 to $100 every 6 weeks for a mid-sized dog. That's $700 to $900 a year to do something you could do yourself in a garage with a $45 set of clippers and a YouTube tutorial. Pet-friendly travel, an additional $50 to $150 in fees per hotel night, longer driving routes to avoid kenneling costs, narrowed vacation options, higher per-night accommodation costs, and the constant low-grade anxiety of finding restaurants and activities that permit animals. Duke doesn't know what his bed cost. He doesn't know if his food is grain-free or grain-full. He doesn't know whether his collar came from a boutique on Etsy or a bin at a discount store. What he does know is whether you're home, whether you're present, whether you're relaxed or tense. Dogs are extraordinarily sensitive to the emotional state of the people they live with, and financial stress is one of the most consistent sources of tension in households. The greatest thing you can give your pet is a financially stable owner, someone who isn't quietly panicking every time a vet bill arrives, someone who made smart decisions up front and now can afford genuine care when it's actually needed. Someone who loves their animal with full presence rather than with a maxed-out credit card and a gnawing sense of guilt. The pet premium is a machine built on your kindness. Dismantle it piece by piece. Love Duke with everything you have. Just stop letting the industry charge you for the privilege. If any of this hit close to home, leave a comment below. Tell me the single most expensive thing you ever bought your pet that they completely ignored. Let's get humble together. See you in the next one.